So we're just going to start kneeling actually. If you do want to sit cross-legged, if that's comfier, or you can place a block or a cushion under your sit bone so that you've got something to kneel on, take a bit of the pressure off the feet. That's your choice. I might stay on this actually, it's quite comfortable. So we're just going to start with some little semicircles. So we're not going to the back, just going to drop the ear towards one shoulder and then semicircling to the other. Just keep breathing through, stretch down the sides of the neck. And then if you want to increase the stretch slightly, you can just keep your head on the side, place one hand on top, we're not going to pull, but just let the weight of the hand, and then just let the other hand pull in opposition, just very slowly away. And then come into the other side. If this feels too much, you can just carry on with the neck semicircles. And then from there, we're just going to take some circles. Don't drop the neck at the back, but we are just arching slightly to the back. And allow it to come into the rib cage. So the ribs and the head are circling. Maybe take 3 or 4 one way, and then circling the other way. Breathing into the backs of the ribs as we go around the back. Back to centre. Just going to place the left hand on the outside of the right thigh. We're just going to look over our right shoulder as we take a small easy twist. Moment to engage the core here so that we're not just pushing on the leg to whack the body around to protect the spine. You want to be breathing to lengthen through the spine. Inhale and exhale to deepen the twist. One more, inhale, one more exhale, and then bringing ourselves back to centre. Going to just go to the other side, so placing the right hand on the outside of the left leg. Just going to look over the left shoulder this time, placing the left hand just behind you. Keep breathing here to lengthen and deepen, using the core to stabilise. One more inhalation and exhalation before coming back to centre. If you are sitting on a block or a cushion, just move it for now. Actually, I'll face this way. Just going to come into our crouch position. So start with the weight pouring equally between the hands and the feet, so you've got a bit of weight in both. And then we're just going to push backwards and forwards, just seeing at what point our limits are before we fall off balance. So how much weight can go into the hands, just gently on the wrists, and then how much weight can we pull back into the heels. Don't worry if you can't go too far back. Some people's Achilles won't allow them to go all the way back, but just testing whether you're here or not, just finding the edge before you have to come back again. And just rocking between these places, stretching the backs of the feet, the soles of the feet, and just warming up the wrists a little bit to take weight. Okay, from here we're going to drop the knees onto the ground, and we're just going to warm up the wrists a little bit. So starting with maybe one hand, turning the back of the hand onto the ground, and then swapping. If you want to do both at the same time, you can, but you just have to be careful not to put too much weight down into the wrists when they're in this position. Then turning the fingers towards the knees, and you just slowly pull in the angle back. If you need to bring your body forwards because your wrists aren't ready to stretch that far, then you can do that. Just feeling the stretch down the front of the wrist here now. And then turning the fingers to point either side of the mat. We're just going to take a few little circles. moving the body forwards to get into all edges of the wrists and the palms. Maybe head put in the sofa. Okay, and then just coming back onto the toes, so we're getting a stretch down the toes here. If this is too much, then you can untuck the toes and sit back onto the knees, or again use a block and maybe sit on the block or a cushion. But it is good to try and feel that stretch down the toe, back the soles of the feet, sorry, and the toes. We're just going to give the wrists a bit of a wriggle around like this, maybe wave them. In yoga, we often have weight into the hands, and in general life we don't do this very much, so wrists are often quite weak, and if you just go full pelt into a yoga class or maybe a fitness class, if you're in plank or anything like that, we can often end up overstraining our wrists because we've not warmed them up properly. They're not somewhere, a part of the body that people think to warm up always, so it's good to just give them a bit of a warm up. From here, we're going to just come forwards into our tabletop position, and we're going to take some twists, some spirals with the spine to really warm up the core. So placing the hand on the ear or on the back of the head or on the hip for a bit less intense. Just going to open up towards the ceiling and then drop the elbow towards the opposite hand. Opening, inhale and exhale as we drop the elbow towards the opposite hand. We're taking 5. This is 4. 5. And the other side. I actually started with my left there so that you could see, but it doesn't matter which one you start with. Inhale to open, use the core. Exhale to drop. Using the gaze to move with the movement. I think we're on 4 now. So 1 more. And then we're going to come back into our downward facing dog. So planting the hands, tucking the toes and pushing the hips diagonally back into our downward facing dog. Just find a minute here to come into the downward dog, maybe pedal the feet a little bit, thinking about the alignment points, the heels drawing towards the floor, the backs of the legs strong and engaged, the shoulders moving away from the ears, create space, laterally rotating outwards. Sit bones pulling diagonally towards the ceiling. And then we're just going to come into our 3-legged dog. So lifting up that leg, maybe starting with the hips square in parallel. And then allowing the hips to open. Ooh, crack. Allowing that leg to opening the hip. Maybe you want to bend the leg. Just seeing what feels good for you today. Breathing. And then bending that knee towards the face, towards the forehead. We're going to come onto the toes of the standing foot and come forwards until we can step our hand towards the front of the mat, maybe in between the hands, into our lunge position. We're just going to drop the back knee, untuck the toes and bring the torso up, coming into our low lunge. Here you can either keep your hands on the floor if this feels a bit too intense, or you can have your hands on your knee, or maybe even on the backs of the hips here, on the back of the pelvis. We want to try, especially if you're quite supple, not to just splay forwards and let everything hang out and sort of pop out the front. If you really want to get a more intense stretch down the front of this hip flexor, red fluff. You can just bring yourself slightly up a little bit. Think about tucking the pelvis under And then just moving more in that position, keeping the ribs engaged and down, rather than just splaying into it like this. I have to remind myself of that. And then if you want to increase the stretch, just lifting this left hand over the top. So we're increasing the stretch down the left side of this body here. If you want an even more intense stretch here, you can place the right hand reaching round the back to clasp the thigh, and then you're almost in a kind of revolved reverse warrior in a low lunge. Bit of a variation combo. But you're twisting round to take the thigh, and then this left hand is going to reach over the top. Just remembering to make choices based on how you feel today, what feels good for your body. So from here, placing the hands back down, we're just going to lift that back knee, tuck the toes, and then just turn our bodies to face the side of the mat, coming into our Skandasana, our side lunge. Here you might want to put a block under your heels for support so that you're not having to balance and grip too much, or maybe even sitting on a block or a cushion to help with the balance. If you've got quite long Achilles and open hips, maybe you can just stay with your heel on the floor or with your heel slightly lifted. Here as well, lots of choices. You can keep your hands in Namaste, in Jali Mudra, have them on the floor, or you can take a bind. So we're going to reach with our right arm forwards, bringing our armpit to our knee, and then rotate the arm so we can wrap around the leg, bending it round the back, and then our left hand's going to reach round and take the bind behind the back. Maybe you only do this if it's in your practice though. I'm just going to open up to face the side. And then walking across, we're going to come to the other side. I feel like I'm a bit short for space here. So again, using the block, choosing where we want to put our hands, maybe in the bind. Opening the hips, using the arm. Maybe you want to just keep that pressure on that knee. Just open up like this. Just feeling what feels right for your body today. Keep breathing, inhaling and exhaling. Oxygenate the muscles, gain strength. And then just turning, this time you'll be towards the back, but don't fret. We're just coming back into our low lunge with our left leg in front this time. So if you're facing the back, don't worry about it. I will guide you through it. You've just got either your hands either side of your leg again, either on your knee, on the back of the pelvis. And you're just melting into that low lunge, stretching down the front of that right leg now, in those hip flexors. Again, trying to remember not just splaying forwards, but to keep a slight tuck in that pelvis. Not splaying in the ribs. I'm awful for that. And then either taking a side bend or the reversed, revolved low lunge. And then just slowly coming out, placing the hands back down. We're going to tuck the toes again, lift that back leg, take a little hop to bring your legs slightly closer together, and then we're going to lift our torso up, turning again to face the side of the mat with our legs in a wide second, but feet parallel. We're just going to inhale to lift and lengthen, and then exhale to fold from the hips, coming into our Prasarita Padottanasana. Here again, maybe you just want to have a little wiggle. And then placing the hands either on the floor Maybe you want 2 blocks to have your hands on. You could take a big toe lock around the toes to pull you down here, or maybe around the backs of the ankles, or with your hands clasped and open in the shoulders like this. So just choosing whichever one feels right for you today. Just breathing into the stretch, into the backs of the legs, into the back fascia that goes all the way from the soles of the feet up the back of the body and to the top of the skull, to the forehead. Just taking a moment here to breathe. Wiggle. It's your warm up, so take it how you need to. And then inhaling to lift and lengthen. And exhale to bring yourselves back up to standing. Just going to turn back towards the front of the mat, so turn that front foot. We're going to place the hands back down again and step the foot back into our high lunge here. Just take a moment to align yourself in this high lunge before lowering the hips slowly towards the floor, using the glutes and the core. We're going to place the legs down, coming into our cobra. If you want to take an upward facing dog with the legs off and the arms straight, then you can. If you prefer to do a cobra or even a baby cobra halfway up, whatever feels right for you today for your warm up. Just lifting out of the crown of the head. And then we're just going to push back, coming into our puppy. So maybe walking the hands a bit further forwards and lowering the sternum, the chest bone towards the floor, opening up the armpits in front of the arms. For a more intense stretch, maybe coming onto the fingers or maybe putting the hands on blocks. Trying to keep the hips over the knees so we're not too far forwards or too far back. And then keeping the elbows down and the hands planted, we're just going to tuck the toes, walk in the feet a little bit until we're in our dolphin. So here the armpits are pushing towards the knees. Our heels are still pushing towards the floor, reaching towards the floor, and our sit bones are reaching diagonally backwards. We'll open up the armpits here. Can be quite intense. If you need to bend the legs a little, then you can. And then either one hand at a time, or if you can, both hands push, just to push us back into our downward facing dog. Just find this downward facing dog for a moment. Excuse me. Before walking the feet towards the hands, we're going to hang over in our Uttanasana. Maybe taking ragdoll with the hands holding each elbow, just hanging from the hips here. Maybe you want to have a bit more of a deep stretch by holding onto the ankles. Maybe give yourself a little bend in the legs, or juggle around. And then rolling up, stacking the vertebrae one on top of the other as we come up to standing, head coming up last. We're just going to take a quick tricep stretch. So reaching one hand over, and you can either hold the elbow behind the head and pull it down this way, or you can reach behind the back and take a clasp that way. Just going to open the tricep of this right hand. Try not to let the arm push the head forwards, but try and keep length through the back of the head, and then swapping over whichever way you want to take the stretch, whether you're reaching over the top or clasping the hands behind the back. And then letting go, give the arms a shake, give the body a shake, legs a shake, give the ribs a bit of a shake. And hopefully you're feeling nice and warm, got a bit of a stretch out, elongated the muscles, and got some mobility through the body and the joints. So enjoy whatever you're doing next, or just your day, if that is it for the day. Yes, lots of love. Please share. Namaste.